Hey YouTube, this is The Art of Prepping. Thanks for joining me. This is a prepper quick tip video. You see a lot of advertisements lately about these so-called survival belts. And most of them are some type of variant of a paracord or a modified paracord, specialized paracord. Some of them even have Kevlar in the cording or are made of Kevlar. They have tools hidden in the buckle systems or throughout the body of the belt. And I think they're pretty cool. I think the prices aren't cool. And you can always make your own variation. So that's just kind of, a lot of people ask that question, should I get these survival belts? And I was like, well, let's just be honest, it's just a fad. And you can probably make one for probably like, 20% of what they're selling it for. Now, you may not want all those tools either that they're putting in there. So you may just want to have something more simple, maybe a small fishing kit or a very small, folding knife or, a signal mirror or something like that embedded into the belt itself. But, for me personally, I'm not into all those little gadget kind of things. They're kind of, they're borderline gimmicky. I'm not going to say that they're not useful because they do have useful things in them. But what's the likelihood of you actually using that? You may say, well, at least you have it on your person. When you need it, you need it. And even though probably 99.9% of your life you would never need anything on that belt, it'll just be like a regular belt for you. If you ever did need it, you'd be like, okay, I have that much more resources at my disposal. And I totally get that. And that's why I'm not really putting them down. It's just that I think they're a bit gimmicky in general for the average person, especially people who don't even go in the woods. And they have this fishing kit that they're walking around in their office. That's what kind of kills me. I know people who actually have these belts that are just basically office workers that go pretty much like drive 3 or 4 miles from their home to the office and right back home. And they're wearing these survival belts around in a commercial building, and there's no woods, there's no survival situation, but yet they have a fishing kit. And it's just kind of like, that to me is probably the gimmicky part, because I think there's a lot of people who just think that they, have a survival belt. They've got this solution that's going to solve like most problems, if not all. And it's not true. So, if you just have a regular belt, this is like an old duty belt that I used to wear for like a gun belt. You used to have the keepers on there for your other belt. It would connect to that belt, and you can, put your duty weapon on and all your, all the gear that a police officer would wear. You could use it with this belt. It's a pretty good belt. It's, starting to kind of wear down. And I just wanted to say that you can get something like this and wrap cord over it, or just use the actual cord itself, like you see on the paracord bracelets and belt systems, that there isn't really anything typically inside the middle to create the rigidity. The only reason I'm actually bringing up something like this is that if you even got something, maybe it was even a smaller diameter of leather belt, it would actually reduce the overall height of the belt when you wrap it. And just remember, the thicker the belt, it'll give you more rigidity, but it's also going to be thicker when you put cord on top of that. So a lot of belt loops won't even handle it. So you got to have to experiment on what's going to work with your clothing. But overall, though, I just wanted to kind of say that this particular prepper quick tip is save your money. Do your own modifications, create your own systems. You don't need to buy everything commercial at retail. It's just not necessary, A lot of times I don't even wear leather belts at all. Sometimes I wear elastic belts. I know that sounds kind of odd, but woven elastic belts, they don't do really well with holding a lot of gear by any means, but I'm not really a belt gear kind of guy. I don't walk around with big multi-tools on my belt. I'm not that kind of person. If you do that, you probably would want a nice leather belt. Or, just have a thick paracord belt that you don't mind, cinching up a little tight. I don't like tight belts. I don't like anything tight at all around my waist. A lot of people I know are like that. It's just not comfortable. So that's kind of what we come down to is you're going to have to figure out what works for you. And that's kind of the message through and through this channel with prepping. Depending on where you live, your unique challenges, your threats in your area. Just like in my area, we're having a lot more, I'm not going to say an invasion, but we're having a lot more influx of black bear. And it's really not that relaxing sometimes to go in the woods anymore because there's so many spottings. There's been a spotting just right down the road from me, a big family of bear. And, I'm real careful and everything. Just like I watch out for the pumas, Sometimes they're called like cougars or ghost cats. It just depends on where you are. But the pumas, mountain lions too, that's another word for them. There's like a whole bunch of different terms for the darn thing. I mean, it's something that you have to be concerned about. Now those are fairly rare in my areas, but they are spotted. You know, every few months there's a spotting of a mountain lion, or you can call it puma or whatever. But it's it can be alarming because the ones in my area are about 240 pounds. Is what they said. The game warden said that's like the average weight. The bears in my area, they can be from very small to very large. I think they're averaging the females like 180, and the males are over 200 pounds easy. And so sometimes they get up to about 350. They typically kind of max out around here. But if they're over 10 years old, they have been known to get over 650 pounds. And I think the record for the state is well over 800 pounds. Obviously, that was a very mature, much older bear, and it's very high probability that it was actually just roaming from another state, and it was increasing its roaming territory, looking for a mate. Sometimes they do that during breeding season, and so sometimes when they don't find a mate in a new area, they just kind of go back to their home territory. And so hopefully this is what's going on. But it's not uncommon, obviously, in my area to have bear and mountain lions and a whole host of other things. Wolves, coyotes are everywhere. So when I make the videos in the past, and I kind of joke a little bit about it, actually it's deadly serious in a lot of ways. To be aware of your surroundings, just like you need to be aware of what kind of gear to have on, the belt system, weapon system, just awareness. That's something that you have to practice too. That's a good commodity to develop. And so, while large predators can not only kill you, but cause also other problems. If they don't kill you, they can be a real nuisance. And so you really do need to have the means. Like I've been trying to remember, and be mindful when I go out in the woods to carry personal protection items that would actually be able to defend me. You go out in the woods with your everyday carry, let's say, for example, you go out in the woods with your everyday, firearm, your everyday carry firearm. Let's just say you just take the minimum that you would carry. Like for me, the minimum I would carry is like a 380 auto. That's pretty low power, but it's definitely going to be better than nothing, especially if it's warmer out. Now it's getting cooler, I can go ahead and possibly change that up. But sometimes I forget, and I'll walk out in the woods with only a 380 auto, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I ran into a mountain lion or wolf or something, I don't really know if that would actually be able to help me enough to help me survive. I mean, it'd be better than nothing, but you better believe that you would have to probably empty the magazine and reload and empty that magazine to really probably stop some of these threats that are well over 100 pounds. So, hey, if you have any tips though on any weapon systems, because I am kind of looking for a new one just because of the influx of bears. It's getting a little more serious. I'm not a real large caliber kind of guy. I don't really think I want to go up as far as like a 44 Magnum. I'm looking for a lightweight packable handgun that could be used for personal protection against predators, not hunting. I'm not a hunter. This would just solely be for either in the pack, but I think that I would be a lot more wise if I had it on the belt for even quicker access. So I'm thinking a belt-holstered firearm. Semi-automatic would be good, possibly because it would, possibly have more rounds, but I'm looking for very lightweight. So the only thing I found personally for a semi-automatic that was even remotely close to the weight that I wanted to carry was the Glock 29 and 10 millimeter. It's that subcompact. It's pretty cool. Pretty expensive though. I don't know if that might be a little too much. And the weight's pretty cool though. 10 rounds as well. That's really good. And so I would probably want to get as much power as possible without going overboard. I think a stout 10 millimeter round would be awesome, but I think also as a minimum in a revolver cartridge, maybe like a 357 full, like a full bore load, a hot load would probably go as well. Of course, there's people going to say, what about a 41 Magnum, 44 Magnum, and all these other? I'm very aware of that. But I think, though, for me, I'd be a little bit more apt to have quicker follow-up shots if I was to stick probably with a 357 Magnum. If you have any platforms in terms of actual revolvers or models of revolvers or even brands that you would recommend, I'd appreciate it very much. I'm kind of looking for that. Maybe within the next year or so, I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger, figuratively speaking, on that purchase if I can afford that, and maybe have that kind of a dedicated Predator gun that I can always just strap to my waist when I go out, and not sometimes just rely on my everyday carry gun, which is typically very much underpowered in my area. And so I have friends and know people and subscribers that talk about in their area they have some very dangerous animals. I mean, mine are fairly dangerous, but there's not a lot of them, so it's kind of rare to have any kind of incidents with humans. But moose. Friends up north have some problems. I've been getting a lot of emails about the aggressiveness, especially during mating season. The moose are just terrible. I mean, they're an awesome animal to watch and to enjoy, but when they have their surge of hormones, the males are crazy. I mean, that's how they're pretty much described. They're just insane, and they'll just ram their heads against anything and attack snowmobiles and people, dogs, and other animals, anything. And so now that's some pretty serious thing. If I had actually moose running around my fields and woods, I think I probably wouldn't even go outside unless I had a long arm, a real heavy caliber. But I have seen videos. Unfortunately, there's been times that people had to pull their weapon on a moose, and I have seen that the 10mm typically does the job. 357 as well. After a few shots, it can take down a moose. It's not the preferred round by any means. It's just a last resort. But I have, I was also in some threads for law enforcement. I do a lot of things, just kind of monitor with law enforcement forums and things, and just because of my history in the past. But I was noticing that they had really poor results using a 45 ACP against moose. And I'm like, wow, even bear doesn't do very well. The 45 ACP, and I'm going to get probably some flack for saying that, but it's just the facts. I'm not trying to have a caliber war or, oh, my bullet is better than your bullet kind of thing. I'm just saying this is what the results are from the state troopers that had to put down animals that got hit by vehicles, to humanely dispatch the animals that are suffering, and they're definitely dying, and there's absolutely no way that they could actually, help the animal. Their legs are broken, or they have a broken neck and they're just sitting there suffering. And so pretty much a 9mm does have typically a little bit more penetration in the body than a 45. A 40 is not too bad if you have a hot load, but they say pretty much the clear winners are 10mm and 357 Magnum. And of course, and any other revolver round that's even above 357 Magnum, like 41 Magnum and the 44 is going to be a way to go too. But there's also a point that, if you can't shoot it well because it's just such a heavy recoil, and you guys can see I have small wrists, and I mean, I'm not a small guy overall, but I'm just not, this big built guy that, that's just going to take 50 rounds at the range punishment from a 44 Magnum. I think my wrist would break off. Now, a lot of people would say the same thing. If they were being honest, they'd be like, hell, I wouldn't want to, shoot, even 5 rounds at the range of those. And because it's just not fun. Of course, that's what I like about the 357 Magnum, as well as other different revolver rounds, that you can just shoot the 38 Special, even light loads at the range, and just have that as a fun gun. You can shoot that all day long. It ain't going to hurt nothing, because it's typically powered quite a bit lower than a 9mm. In fact, it's very equivalent to some degree to a 380 ACP. But if you want to, you can step it up to a lighter 357 rounds. And then when you really need it for those real self-defense situations, especially if you go in the woods and you really need that to save your life, you can put the hot stuff in. And you'll know it too. There's a massive difference. So, long-winded here, but thanks for joining me today on the Prepper. Quick tips. I enjoy this part of the week. It's one of my favorite times just to talk about us as preppers and the things that can help better us. I guess this particular one wasn't a quick tip per se. It was a long tip, a long-winded tip. How about that? You guys take care.